It's good to be back. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, we're in the new season, the 2023 baseball season for the New York Yankees. So I figured, get outside the studio a little bit. You usually you've been seeing me inside a little bit, but want to come here to the big ballpark in the Bronx. So, opening day has passed us, and the beginning of the season has kind of, gone by. But I think it's caught up a little bit. We'll kind of look back at the opening day at Yankee Stadium. It was kind of momentous, especially with Mr. Anthony Volpe, the hometown hero, kind of getting tired a little bit. Maybe a couple of administration moves the Yankees made before the game. And if you might have seen me in past episodes, one thing I complain about, and I give credit to the Mets more than the Yankees, is the food. The food at Citi Field is much better than at Yankee Stadium. But the Yankees have introduced a few new menu items this season. So, in case you're curious about that, it's not just Johnny Rockets and just generic chicken fingers or some more stuff. So I'll get you caught up that in your food. So when you come here at Yankee Stadium, you could, have a burrito or some kind of wacky thing with beer that will do wonders for your stomach. But we'll get you caught up that there. But before I start, maybe not too sure of this, but there's an audio podcast version of the show. So, whether you watch it on YouTube, you watch it on TV, there is a podcast version with exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, go Section 420 Talkin Yankees. The podcast, look it up, follow, and subscribe. So opening day for the Yankees was at Yankee Stadium, fortunately, against the San Francisco Giants. And kind of ironically with the Giants, they were looking at Judge in the offseason to possibly sign him. Well, it turns out, they got a bit of a bidding war there, but ultimately the Yankees won out that one thanks to a little ninth inning magic from Hal Steinbrenner and, of course, through the Pope visit. And then if you could look at the Giants, obviously they let Carlos Rendon go to free agency. Well, the Yankees ended up picking him. So the Yankees really picked the Giants' pocket this season. So just kind of ironic they played him to start the season. And you're like, what's up with all these National League teams right away? Well, again, discussed it previously, but what the baseball is doing this season is, instead of just the interleague where just kind of one division plays one division and that's it for the season, like let's say, for example, like all the American League East teams would play all the National League Central teams. Well, instead, this season, all teams are playing each other. So the Giants will come in here. At some point, the Yankees will go play out there in San Francisco. And it's just a way for fans to see pretty much every team instead of having to wait once every 4 years. So, and that's what they're calling kind of the Ohtani effect. Basically, if you have a great player like Ohtani and you're like a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, well, you kind of have to wait every 4 years for this guy to come in, and maybe you only see him once or twice in your lifetime. This way, if you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan and your life is miserable, or you're an Oakland A's fan, well, not really Oakland because they see him anyway, but if you're like a National League fan, you could see someone like an Ohtani every season. So that's why you've seen a lot of these National League games up front like that. So a little different this season. But nevertheless, for the Yankees themselves, it was a rather successful opening day weekend. Now, if you look at that the Giants lineup, they're kind of weak and pathetic. I figure they really should have swept them outright, but the Yankees took 2 out of 3, and that's kind of the bare minimum which you want to, at least want to see. But kind of things, I guess, highlight with that, of course, I guess the star of the show, well, it was kind of 2 stars. Of course, it was, I guess, technically not really the return of Judge, but it was Judge after the big contract there. And, what does he do in his first bat? Hits a home run, so just picks right up from last season, which was kind of incredible. Hit 2 home runs in the series in general. But, of course, maybe the real star of the show might have been Anthony Volpe, really his breakout in front of the Yankee Stadium crowd. Probably just got as big a hand as Judge like that. And, didn't do anything drastic, but just to see him on the field there and the whole deal with that, it was kind of complicated. So that was kind of the highlight of it. Now, there's other things I'll break down with it, what that was good about the opening series, what's not good about the opening series. Stanton, of course, which was kind of, he was kind of pretty much a non-factor in spring training. He didn't even have a home run. You kind of go, what's up with this guy? But did hit 2 home runs, including a 485 bomb. Discuss that a little bit more. But other things about the Yankees, of course, we'll get into the series, once we wrap it. But, kind of early on right now. But the team, you just see the way they're shaping out, way the lineup looks. And you see what they're going to do with Volpe. He's pretty much going to be towards the bottom there because they want to use his speed. The whole idea is that with DJ LeMahieu, we're going to kind of control at bat. You put him at the top of the lineup. And then if Volpe at the bottom there gets on base, he'll be able to get on base, steal some bases, wreak some havoc, open some holes with DJ LeMahieu, and kind of let the lineup take a few turns. So Volpe, the 21-year-old kid, now he made it back in 96. The Yankees had another 20-year-old, Derek Jeter, there, so you kind of see that lineage and all the comparison like that. Puts a lot of pressure on Volpe, but he seems to be handling. Now, it was pretty good opening day weekend for him. Didn't really mash the ball, but we did get to see his first career hit. Hopefully, it's more to come, and also a little history from him. He became the 5th player since 1901 to steal a base in each of his first 3 games. Now, obviously in spring training, remember with Volpe, he was wearing number 77, Clint Frazier's old jersey, and of course his grandfather was a big Mickey Mantle fan. Of course, Volpe from New York, from the Upper East Side, again, a Yankee fan growing up, so for him this is all a dream come true. Now, to start the season, the Yankees forced him to change his jersey number. Really, Major League Baseball forced him to change it, because it's sort of like this new rule out, if you're on the infield, you have to have like a lower number, you can't have like 77. I think the whole thing's kind of silly. Now, they made him kind of take number 11, because I guess that was the most reasonable number left that's not retired for the Yankees. Again, the Yankees have so many retired numbers, pretty much, like all the single digits are gone. Now, a lot of people say, oh, they liked him at 77. Why are you taking it away from him? He wanted to play 77 because of the whole Mickey Mantle thing, his grandfather, blah, blah, blah. First, I just think a whole ridiculous, but nevertheless, I think ultimately it's the best thing for Volpe to be number 11. Number 1 is a normal baseball number, like 77. That's like for like a football. This doesn't make sense. It's kind of like, I know Judge is 99, but that's kind of like a special situation. I mean, he's a freak of nature, just the way he is. So for him to have like a freak of nature type of number, that fits. For someone like Volpe, he's kind of a short guy, turning double plays and stuff like that. Number 11 is more appropriate. And if you think about it, it's really the best form thing. If you want to look at Yankee lineage, I mean, before him, you got Rizzuto, then you got Maris, Yogi Berra, Mickey Mantle, and now he's next in line there at number 11 there. So, if he turns out to be what we think he could be, again, a little too early, again, the guy's been only here for a few weeks, but if he turns out to be something special, then you look at a situation where maybe someday you're retiring the guy, number 11 there. And another interesting thing, too, that you hear all the comparisons with Derek Jeter. Well, Derek Jeter is number 2. If you take 1 and 111, 2. Oh. Now, there's a couple of new Yankees you might not be familiar with, just because, whatever, you weren't plugged into the team towards the end of spring training. But the Yankees did make a couple of, interesting moves at the start of the season. Now, one of them was pick up Frenchie Cordero. Now, he had been with the Baltimore Orioles in their spring training, but they released him, the Monday before opening day like that, and the Yankees ended up swooping him up. Now, you're like, who's Frenchie Cordero? Why do we have this guy? Well, he's a right-handed slugger. I mean, he can play outfield. He could play first base, so maybe he potentially also back up Anthony Rizzo, even though it's kind of like DJ LeMayo's job. DJ LeMayo, of course, we all know the jack of all trades. But Frenchie Cordero, he's a power guy. And again, a lot of strikeouts, but when he does connect with one, he does send it a long way. He's 99th in the league in exit velo. And again, he's kind of flexible. And again, a left-handed at bat at Yankee Stadium. I mean, you have to be a rocket scientist to see the value there. So he strikes out a lot in his career. I mean, he strikes out 34.9% of his at-bats. So a lot of swings and misses. But when he does connect into one, it goes a very long way. So he's kind of like a better-ish Joey Gallo, if you want to, say like that, or like a better sort of Chris Davis. You remember him with the Baltimore Orioles there, or a guy's probably gonna hit a little over 200, but when he connects on a ball, it goes like 500 feet. So that's his thing. But again, he's flexible. He can play the outfield. He can play right field. He can play pretty much all the outfield positions. So again, you have him there as a tool, as well. He can play first base in case, again, if Rizzo needs a ball like that, but you still want a left-handed at bat. Now, to start the season, the Yankees did a little something surprising. They actually put Estevan Florial on the team, and now people have been clamoring for a while. Bring him up, bring him up, bring him up. They're always, complaining with him, kind of like Brett Gardner was taking his place. So he finally gets an opportunity there. So they bring him up to start the season. You're like, what's going on here now? He was out of options. So once they brought him up and had him on the Major League roster to start the season, they were going to have to do something with him. So obviously rumors were they're going to trade him. Obviously, they would trade him potentially for a pitcher, so we didn't know what the move it was. But then shortly after a couple of days, actually they made the move. Turns out they designated for him an assignment, and then they signed Colton Brewer. Now you're like, wait, who's Colton Brewer? So he's a pitcher that he'd been around a little bit. The Yankees got him a trade with the Rays, with the Red Sox for a couple of seasons. But so basically, Estevan Florial was kind of a placeholder for Brewer. Now, I'm not sure he's sure what Cashman sees in Brewer, like what's so great about him. He's 30 years old. He's not really like a flamethrower or anything like that. His career ERA in five seasons is like 5.04. So you have an ERA over 5. And in 91 innings, he has 89 strikeouts. So you're looking about a little less than like a strikeout an inning, a little less than that, maybe an inning of strikeout, nothing impressive. But he gave up 109 hits in 91 innings. So he's given up about a hit or more in an inning. So again, I'm not sure why they picked him up, why he's so spectacular, why he was so over him, why they just didn't move it. Estevan Florial pretty much ending his tenure as a New York Yankee, just for this to be a placeholder for this guy Colton Brewer. But we'll see. Cashman sometimes he finds his guys. A la Clay Holmes, he just kind of, or Chase and Shreve when the Yankees had him a little bit before he had value before they traded him off to get Luke Voigt. So Cashman usually has a good eye for this guy. So I don't know, maybe they figure with Matt Blake and get him to throw more breaking balls, and maybe they could kind of transform him. I don't know, remains to be seen. So I'm not going to go crazy over the move, but maybe all the years, a couple of years with the Red Sox, and the Yankees facing each other so many times, I'm sure Cashman saw a lot of Bruins. Maybe there's something about it he likes, so I'll trust his judgment on it. But it's just bad for Florio to kind of end his Yankee tenure that way. Obviously, he's ready for assignment, so he'll be put on the wires or something like that, and I'm sure another team will pick him up. Always had a lot of potential, but he never really got a fair opportunity here with the Yankees. But it's just kind of a roster move more or less. But again, hopefully for Florio, he ends up somewhere and can finally have a full-time playing career in the majors. Now this season, we're looking forward to the Yankees having a tremendous starting rotation. Of course, Garrett Cole will be, back. Of course, he's still on the contract, but Severino back and hopefully getting a full season out of him, which, last season was kind of cut short with the lat issue, where that kind of crop up again, which I'll get into. But of course, they signed Carlos Rodon. They had the big lefty free agents for $160 million. Of course, you have Nestor Cortez come back, and then you had Frankie Montas in there, and you were kind of looking forward to this great season of having 5 studs there that could potentially really give you a chance to win every time out. Kind of, makes you think back at like the 98 and 92 to 2001 type Yankees. Unfortunately, injuries took the effect like that. So, to start the season, as you know, Rendon went down with the forearm issue. Really no timetable on him. Coming back supposedly mid to late April, we're not really sure yet. But the big blow, kind of the curious blow I'm worried about is Luis Severino. Kind of re-injured that lat that bothered him last season. Now they say it's not as serious, and he has been throwing a little bit. So, he should be back relatively soon. But it's similar to an oblique injury. You just don't know how long that's going to be. So the Yankees kind of, that starting rotation with Dogan have is not there. And of course, with Frankie Montas having the shoulder surgery to be scoped out a little bit. And again, in my mind, you're probably not going to see him until September, even if you do see him at all. Again, really disappointed there. But with the other 4, you figure it's still a formidable rotation. Remember back to the Yankee heyday with El Duque, David Wells, David Cohn, Andy Pettitte. You only really need 4. It'd be nice to have 5, but 4 is fine as well. But the rotation obviously going to need some of the young guys just to fill in so everyone to get back. So, Clark Schmidt was kind of going to be there in the mix a little bit. Unfortunately, his first game, the second one there, wasn't that good. Was kind of holding his own in the first couple innings, but then get cuffed up a little bit. But again, wouldn't worry about him. Again, he's just going to be a 5th starter at best like that, and they'll probably use him for a little bit middle relief. So, again, he had a good spring relatively, but again, a little disappointed to start the season, but that's okay. But it was a good bright spot to see Johnny Brito. Again, he was good in spring, and the Yankees did give him a start, and he was impressive in his first start, going 5 innings with 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, and just a couple of hits there. And again, gave the Yankees the opportunity to come right back and take the 3rd game against the Giants. And again, eventually at some point, Rendon will work his way back into the rotation, and hopefully soon, maybe by next month, probably, we'll see Luis Severino, and the Yankees can at least have their 4 to start out. And of course, let's not, miss out on the king there, King Cole. Again, he was very impressive in the first start. I mean, he already looks like a mid-season form. He had a great spring and a good start to the season. And again, last season was kind of weird for him. Gave up a lot of home runs, had a lot of big innings like that. So, but hopefully this is a good bounce back in a way season for Cole, and maybe finally when he gets a Cy Young as a New York Yankee. Now, we saw the new rules this season with baseball, especially with the pitch clock, and now I thought it was something they really wouldn't enforce much, just kind of there, and it's there, and unless you really egregiously break the rule, we'll call on you. But they have been calling on it. They did call it in spring training. Again, we saw that infamous game where a game ended on a ball pitch because, again, the pitcher took too long to throw the ball, and they have been enforcing it. Again, this is all to shorten up the game a little bit. Now, in the second game with the Yankees there, actually, an umpire called it 4 times. Umpires called it 4 times within the game, so it's actually the most calls within the game of, again, a pitcher taking too long to throw the ball. So they have been forcing this. Now, again, this is all to shorten the game up. Now, on average right now, it's not less time than last season, but again, because there's only been a handful of games, we just got into the season a couple weeks now, comparing that to all the data from last season. As the season goes on, you're going to see the game, again, the average game time shortened down, but we have seen some short ones. It was even a 2-hour and 3-minute baseball game already this season 2023, so you see a lot of that, and as time goes on, again, the average will shorten down. So again, it makes it, more action quicker. So, not saying it's better for the games, not worse for the game, but again, it is shortening the games a little bit, and it's just going to be the thing you're going to see moving forward. Who's on first and what's in center? So we saw what the Yankees did in spring training. They experimented putting IKF in center field. Hasn't cost the Yankees really anything yet. But I didn't think something they really do once the season started, but they actually did. I mean, Boone did put him out there early to start the season, so I guess we will see IKF out there. And really kind of have no choice because right now the starting job is Volpe at shortstop. So, if they want to find IKF some bats, that's really the only place you could do it, either in center field or, as we know, IKF can play third base, so maybe if you want to give Donaldson a night off once in a while as well. But I was really kind of surprised that, at least opening day, putting Judge right out there in center field. Now, It's not a move I really love, just because there's a lot of ground to cover out there, and he's a big guy. And again, especially now you're paying him $360 million. I don't know if you want him running around and tweaking hamstrings and glute muscles and all that stuff like that. But nevertheless, Boone, just sticking him out there. So kind of surprised to see at the start of the season. And for whatever reason, Judge just seems to love it. He did it last season. He hit 62 home runs. He's doing it this season, and he already has 2 under the belt that we know of, and especially 1 on opening day. So Judge loves center field. I don't love the idea of Judge being out there, but I guess nevertheless the Yankees are going to go with it. And if you look at some others, again, other center field options for the Yankees, of course, we know we have Harrison Bader. Again, he's still dealing with the oblique injury. Now, he's been taking some swings. No really timetable is going to be back, but ultimately, once Bader comes back, he goes back into center field there. And then, of course, Judge will go in the right. And then with Stanton, I guess he'll find some work for him. Now, Boone said he wants Stanton actually out in the outfield at least 3 times a week, so he's going to get his time out there. Couldn't do it as much last season because, again, Stanton dealing a number of injuries. Again, had an all-star first half, made the all-star team, but really the second half of the season wasn't that good for Stanton. But again, they're going to try to get Stanton more at work out there. But if anything, Stanton's going to probably be in right just because it's much shorter, much less ground to cover than left field for the Yankees. And in the left field right now, of course, you're looking at Oswaldo Cabrera and a little Aaron Hicks, which Aaron Hicks, unfortunately, season not starting off good for him. Again, the fans really raining down the boos on him. So you hope eventually you may get a little hot like that, because I can see a situation, it could almost turn into like the Joey Gallo situation last season where he's just getting killed by the fans every at bat. It just seems like, Aaron Hicks now might be that guy. So, Hicks got to kind of step up a little bit like that, just get the fans off his back. Donaldson at least give himself a little bit of reprieve. He's kind of had a decent spring, hit 4 home runs, had a home run again in the second game of the season. So the fans might just give him a little bit more slack. But Hicks right now, he's looking like the #1 target for the fans, and it's not a good thing. Now, Gleyber Torres might be one of the unluckiest Yankees just because there's a little bit of a logjam in the infield position there. So, of course, Gleyber Torres went through arbitration this season. The Yankees settled like $9.6 million. Of course, Gleyber wanted 10. The Yankees want to give less. They settled 9.6. Now, Gleyber Torres is going to be really interesting. Again, he had a good bounce-back season, again, after a disappointing 20 in 2021. Again, hit 24 home runs with 76 RBIs. Didn't look like the Gleyber we saw back in 2018, but nevertheless, a good recap for him. Again, still young. He's like 26 years old. So, not saying I'm looking to move him, dying to move him, but he just might be the most expendable if the Yankees do decide to make a move, later in the season, maybe at some way midpoint, whether it's a starting pitcher or just needing some player for some other reason. Now, he's arbitration eligible again next season, so if you're a team you want to trade for Gleyber, let's say it's only at the halfway point of the season, you're only paying him $4 million because probably the Yankees already paid, $4 or $5 million already for the first half of the season, so you're only getting $4 million for the guy, and then next season you go to arbitration again, depending on his numbers. It'll probably be around $10 million more or less. But for a guy like that you could play second base or shortstop a little bit and has a little pop to his bat. Again, probably not going to live up to the full potential we thought he was going to be, but he'd just be probably the most expendable if the Yankees decide to make a move. Again, I'm not pushing him out. I don't think he's horrible. I like him. But again, you have a logjam there in the infield. Of course, we have DJ LeMahieu under contract for at least another 4 seasons with him. And of course, you have the young guys. You have Volpe at shortstop. You have IKF floating around. Okay, IKF is going to be done after this season anyway. It doesn't matter, but he's still in there. And of course, in the minors, you have Oswaldo Peraza available for the Yankees, as well as you have Oswaldo Cabrera up here right for the major league team. So, and if you look at Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera, those 3, they're making peanuts, nothing. Gleyber's making money. So you know what the Yankees are going to do. They have to cut costs. They got to find ways to move money around. So it just seems like Gleyber Torres, if they're going to move somebody, it would be him. And again, he's decent enough, good enough where he could bring talent back, where we don't know what the Yankees really need right now. It might be bullpen help once we get into the middle of the season. Maybe a few guys go down. Maybe they need another starter. Just maybe they get hit with another rash of injuries. We don't know like that. But it just seems like this might probably be Gleyber's last season as a New York Yankee. Hopefully that's the case. I like the guy, but again, he's just got too many guys in the infield and he's making too much money. Now, in mid-April, Mr. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout come to town. Of course, they got all the accolades during the, I guess the spring training / World Baseball Classic season there. Of course, he had the dramatic ending with Ohtani striking out his teammate Mike Trout there for Team Japan to take the championship game. And the ratings on it were phenomenal. I mean, it was probably the best, I guess, World Baseball Classic we've seen so far, and it's the most dramatic. I mean, some of the ratings for those games were even higher than some of the Major League playoff games just to fall before that. So I think he gave really good shot in the arm for baseball, and you see some of that momentum just going into this season. Really almost seems like the season never ended, just with all these contracts and big money that went around. But of course, talking about now Mr. Ohtani will be coming to Yankee Stadium during the middle of April there, and of course, he brings a lot of fanfare to him, and you see baseball's really trying hard to make him the guy, kind of way for all these years, like LeBron was the guy for basketball, and of course right now you say Patrick Mahomes is the guy for football. They're probably trying to at least, mold Ohtani into that guy, and he's a young guy, mid-20s, very handsome man there, I could say that. There's one guy to another there, so he's someone that baseball would like to showcase. So, you'll see, unfortunately for him, though, he's been playing with an Angels team that's been absolutely horrible, and you hear word that he wants it out of there, so he's going to be a free agent after the season. Now, this season, he's projected to make $65 million. So his contract kicked in for $30 million this season, but he's making, according to Forbes, an additional $35 million just with all the advertising. So when this guy becomes a free agent after the end of the season, it's going to be absolutely insane what this guy's going to get. I mean, he might be the first $500 million baseball player. Again, he's a two-way player, outfielder, but also a pitcher as well, and he's good at both. He excels at both, so you got to pay him pitcher money, you got to pay him hitter money like that. So it's going to be interesting what type of money he's going to get. Now, he might be dreaming, fantasizing, could the Yankees ever get him? I just don't think there's any shot at all that the Yankees deal with him. Mainly because they're going to have to bid probably against the Dodgers and, of course, evil Steve Cohen with the Mets stand. You might think, wait, the New York Yankees, you're going to get outbid by the Mets? Well, probably, because, again, we've seen Hal Steinbrenner be more fiscally responsible. Again, people say, oh, they're cheap, they don't spend money. No, the Yankees spend money, but I think they spend it wisely. And they just unloaded $360 million on Aaron Judge, as well as $160 million on Carlos Rendon. And, of course, I'm sure they'll be spending money next offseason as well. So, again, I just don't see the Yankees going to a bidding war paying like $500 million for Ohtani. Now, again, Ohtani brings back a lot of advertising, so you would get your money back a little bit. You saw that the Yankees, they made money with Hideki Matsui with the advertisements, in the outfield when he was playing with the Yankees. Ohtani brings the same other thing, but it's going to be a boatload of money. And just, again, after what they spent with Aaron Judge, I just don't think there's any shot at all that the Yankees bring in Ohtani. So, again, when you see Ohtani at Yankee Stadium, he's going to be a visiting player. I still haven't figured out how to do this thing. What do you put a credit card in and then it takes out $100? And it's like, I don't want to pay $100 to rent a bike. It's just, I'm renting a bike. Can I just pay like $5 or something? It's really annoying. I'll just take the bus. So that's pretty much what all the baseball news and the start of the season. But this episode also will have a little bit fun. Now, I just mentioned at the intro that we'll talk about the food at Yankee Stadium, introducing some new things, some interesting things. Now, for years, the Yankee Stadium didn't really have great food. I don't know what happened. Again, I like the stadium. Everything's good. I like the elevators getting down, all the architecture. Again, if you're going to move from the old stadium, they did a good job. Only problem is the food, I didn't do a good job. Now, do a really good job at Citi Field there. So the only thing that the Mets definitely did better than the Yankees was the food. Citi Field itself, it's kind of a half Polo Grounds, half ever field, and the whole thing's fakakta, as they say, and gives no glory to the Mets history. Okay, finally put the Tom Seaver statue in, but that took years to even get there. But let's get to the food here at Yankee Stadium. So a couple of new items there. So really highlight is going to be the 99 burger. That's kind of like the headliner, the head starter. Of course, 99 after Judge. Now, it's a Wagyu beef burger with dill pickles. But the interesting thing that is, of course, 99, there's only going to be 99 of these things available per game. So I don't know who you have to bribe. I don't know if you have to get here like, you have to be the first one in to get one of these burgers. They're going to go quick, but again, they're exclusive. And it might be like scouting, Someone might get the burger, but they might walk around the stadium like, who wants it? Who wants it? And they might charge like, another $50 for it just so you can have a burger. So I can see what's going to go on. You have a Wagyu beef burger scouting going on. Hopefully the Yankees don't let that happen. So the 99 burger is like Section 223. So it's like obviously second level. A little bit more, I'll say like home plate, but a little bit more going towards third there. So, that's where you go to find the burger. Now, if you're up here about Section 311, that's the top deck, but towards first base, you have the Bronx burrito with a normal and a veggie option there for you vegetarians. Now, a burrito and a large beer at the game, I don't know about that one. You're taking a big risk. Now, I got to admit it, the Yankee Stadium bathrooms have been much cleaner than the old days. The old Yankee Stadium, forget about it. That thing was done after the first inning, but you're taking a big risk there. But again, the bathrooms have been cleaner lately. But if you're going to use the bathroom, go down towards the wings. I would say go top deck all the way to like deep left field, deep right field, where there's less people. Less people using the bathrooms, less destroyed bathrooms. And now back to the Yankees. So now look, this is New York, and we don't like Philly, but we like their cheesesteak. So maybe you want a Philly cheesesteak. So that's Section 107, which is right here on the ground level. Kind of as soon as you go in, you get some cheesesteaks there. Now they have a couple of options. One of them is a pork and broccoli rabe cheesesteak. Kind of an interesting take. I never really had one. But of course, probably the mega big seller for them is the crispy chicken and jalapeno with ranch dressing and some bacon on it kind of thing. Again, a very powerful, potent thing. I don't know if I would trust that more than the burrito, but again, nevertheless, it's Section 107 if you want to get yourself a cheesesteak, and if you're a Rocky Balboa fan, again, definitely want to go into Section 107. So Section 213, so it's obviously second deck, around first base. You have two options there. One is called Fuku, which is going to be fried chicken sandwiches and waffle fries. Again, you definitely want to get those calories in there at Fuku, as well as Mac truck. So Mac is basically mac and cheese. So you got your fried chicken and you got your mac and cheese, but again, that's Section 213. And last but not least, we have Christian Peroni, who makes cheesy garlic bread. So I know some people like the garlic fries, don't like the garlic fries. Maybe you like garlic, you don't like the fries. Well, I guess you have Peroni, Christian Peroni, with his little cheesy garlic bread. Now those have that. He has 2 locations. So there's one at 125 and 310. So 310, you're looking at the third deck, a little bit more towards first base there. Section 125, main level, going towards third base. So a little, I would say, between like home plate and third base there, if you want those, garlic breadsticks. Not a fan of it, but nevertheless, maybe get that. You give me a little mozzarella sauce, or some marinara sauce. You dip it in there, and you're having a good time. Again, you want to soak it up with some beer. And again, I don't know how this is going to work out for the whole games. You mix that with peanuts and other things. The next day, you definitely got to hit the treadmill. And 2023 also marks the 50th year anniversary of the designated hitter, the DH, and of course, the first DH in baseball history. Of course, you should know Ron Blomberg. Now, maybe you recall, if you actually look back a couple of seasons ago, actually I had Ron Blomberg on the show, actually interviewed him, kind of during the height of COVID, when a lot of people were doing the Zoom minis before that, and kind of introduced that brand into the show. And again, Ron was kind of one of my first guests there. And of course, Ron, back in 1973, was the first official designated hitter in a game against the Boston Red Sox up there in Fenway. And you just look at the way, the game now, of course, you have the DH now in both leagues, so it's kind of a unique thing. Now, the Yankees did honor Blomberg earlier on in the season. He threw out the first pitch in one of the games there, so kind of give him his recognition. And again, he's kind of a person like Joe Pepitone, that if you've ever been around that stands of Billy's once in a while, sometimes you might see Ron out there. He does a lot of autographs, very friendly with the fans, a very, very nice guy. So if you get an opportunity to meet Ron, he's a great guy. He had a book that's come out about a year or 2 ago. But again, he's the first official designated hitter, and of course now marks the 50th year anniversary. And of course, with baseball, I don't think they'll ever go back to the pitcher hitting. It's just so much better for the game. It's more action, less risking an injury to your pitcher, and especially look at some of the money some of these pitchers are making. Just to have someone go down like that, it always make with the Yankees. Remember Ching-Ming Wong rounding the bases there, way back in it was 2008, and again, it was never the same after that. So again, that's a bit of an extreme case. Pitchers have been hitting for a long time. There's been some good hitting pitches like CC Sabathia, but I think it's better for the game, just the way they baby these pitches, so don't put them out there. And of course, we'll see the DH moving forward there, so it's just good that they recognize Ron Blomberg for that. So that's the episode. I hope you like it. So for the Yankees, again, a very successful opening day, very successful opening weekend. A lot of stuff I'd like to see, mainly with Judge getting those home runs right off the bat. Again, I can see a situation with him signing that big $360 million contract. And imagine if you go a couple of weeks with a home run, and people are like, oh my God, the pressure's getting to Judge. Similar to what we saw last season when he was trying to hit that 62 home run, and we saw him act uncharacteristically, swinging out of the strike zone. So, got away from his game there where he was really struggling, and thankfully finally hit number 62 in Texas there, but it looked like the case wasn't going to be there because he started to struggle there. So good to see Judge just get a couple home runs right off the bat, kind of put all that pressure to the contract right out the window there. Judge looks like Judge right away. He's getting starting off the season phenomenal. And of course his Batman, his Robin there, Giancarlo Stanton, the other big guy, also getting a couple home runs. This, of course, I mentioned previously on my podcast, again, I was a little nervous about him. Again, was really hurt towards the second half of last season. It was mainly a non-factor in the playoffs. I know he had that big 3-run home run against Cleveland, but other than that, kind of a quiet, kind of postseason for Giancarlo Stanton. So for him to hit a couple home runs, especially that 480-foot bomb right over the Mohegan Sun, set there in center field. It's just good to see that from Stanton. Again, hopefully, he can have a better season. Again, only batted .211 last season, so he's not going to be a 300 hitter. We know that with Stanton. Again, he did hit 31 home runs last season, so it wasn't a total bust, but he didn't see himself there. He was a little hurt. So if we get a full, good, healthy season as Stanton, BMO Stanton, and again, we've seen him play in the field well. Good signs for the New York Yankees. So the only thing you have to worry about is just getting the rotation in order there. Again, waiting on Severino. He's throwing, so hopefully he's back in that lat issue. It doesn't turn out about last season where he missed almost the second half of last season. And of course, Rendon, I guess they're babying him, just signed that big contract. Again, no tear in the UCL, this little forearm soreness. Again, projected, hopefully he's back towards the end of this month there. And if you put him with Cole, and of course Nestor looked great in his first start of the season, get to force him going there. And the fifth spot you can kind of tinker with, Johnny Brito had his debut, sent him down. He's going to come up down a bit just because he has the options to do so there for the Yankees. So again, good start to the season for them. And he's got us really, I guess, of all the things to be worried about is maybe the Severino with the lat issue, just because it bothered him last season. But other than that, everything seems to be shaped well in order. And of course, the hitting's look there, and all the Volpe looks promising right now. And again, he kind of seems very mature for his age there. So, I think once he finally gets his first home run off the deck as well, then you'll see him flourish a little bit more. So that's the episode. Again, got you a little Yankee news, got you some food news, got you caught up on the food, and we'll catch you next time.